by outcome driven design is to figure out which specific areas will give you a maximum impact if you keep the overall end outcome in the mind.
Hi everyone, thanks for tuning into Nodes of Design. To help support our mission spread knowledge, we have a very special guest on today's episode. Let's welcome Parag Trivedi, who is a design leader with over 20 years of experience helping build great products across different industries from Microsoft, GE, Honeywell, Hitachi, Lionbridge and Bajaj Electricals. Presently, Parag is leading a team at Microsoft which deals with productivity on mobile, and prior to Microsoft, he was heading the design team at GE Healthcare, setting up the old design studio from scratch. And before GE, he was heading the design team at Honeywell HTS India. Along with these, Parag also won many international design awards and hold design patents. On this episode, Parag had shared wonderful insights on designing to drive outcomes and how to uncover what you don't know that you already know. We also discussed on what is the role of decision and tactical thinking in design with few examples from the real world scenarios and what are the various tools that one can use to make these decisions. In the later part, we spoke on how to optimize business outcomes through workspace and service design as a collaborative effort, inducing the same thinking of service design into the teams. We concluded the show by Parag recommending us few portfolio tips and the things that he look for in a UX designer's portfolio. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and on every Friday we release new episodes with different creative leaders from around the world to help you better understand different concepts related to design. So don't forget to tune in into Notes of Design every Friday. With that being said, happy designing everyone. Hi Parag, welcome to Nodes of Design. It's a pleasure hosting you today on our show.
Yeah, great to be on the show.
So Parag, how's your day going?
It's going good. Today being Saturday, yeah, it's pretty good.
So Parag, if you could give a brief about yourself to our audience out there.
Yeah, sure. So currently I am with Microsoft and I'm part of a team which is focused on redefining productivity on mobile. So we look at mobile solution across the board. Maybe just brief background about me. So I started as a designer almost like 22 years ago. I started as an industrial. I started as an industrial designer. Worked there for 2 years and launched at least 5 to 6 products in 2 years. But then I realized the nature of problem which I was addressing as an industrial designer was not as big a problem. It was more focused on solving problem related to aesthetics and styling. And I wanted to move to a place where I can solve something bigger. And that was the time. So after 2 years, I acquired UX designer skills and moved to software interaction design because digital solution gives you a relatively larger space and ability to get into the system design kind of a space. And so after 2 years of going through sort of entire journey of research concepts and going actually a shop floor to ensure that product gets launched, I actually moved to interaction design with the intent of solving larger problem and started doing like designing of learning management systems and learning solutions in the space of interaction design. Yeah, and then again I felt that I need to sort of look at other aspects of design, and that's when I got selected for a scholarship in Japan, where I learned about how to think, solution at different horizon, what we can do now in near term and in longer term. And that's when I learned the advanced concept design in Tokyo with Hitachi Design Studio. And then moved back to India and started working on global product solution and large complex problem in the space of process solution or home and building solution, home security at Honeywell. Worked on emerging market product innovation in the space of healthcare and security, and then moved to G Healthcare to set up a design studio from scratch and also create solution to make healthcare accessible and affordable to people who are unserved and underserved. And currently with Microsoft, focusing on redefining productivity on mobile. So that's kind of my journey briefly.
Thank you so much, Prag. So, what was your journey into industrial design? Like, how did you choose that part? Like, you have taken us through your wonderful journey on interaction side, but what was like the side of the industrial design? What made you choose that?
Yeah, I was, passionate about industrial design from my childhood. Actually, like not many people get this opportunity, but even like from fifth standard, I wanted to become an industrial designer because my uncle was a professor in industrial design center at IIT Bombay. So I used to kind of see him doing cool stuff, and I always wanted to become an industrial designer. But very soon I realized that yeah, I love industrial design, but I actually never identified myself with one specific stream of design. I mean, I was passionate about design, but more than that, I was passionate about solving problem at a scale or solving problem which can really have an impact on the ground. And whether I use my capability as an industrial designer or interaction designer or even to some extent as a researcher, I just wanted to focus on things which helps me leverage my capability as a designer and then apply it in the context. So if you ask specifically about industrial design, it was great. I still love it because this satisfaction of seeing something physical when you create is amazing. So I think that piece is awesome. The reason I moved it because I just felt that if I enhance my skill and stay focused on the problem I want to solve and acquire new skill, it just makes me help solve a larger problem. So great time doing industrial design, but yeah, I never identified myself very strongly with one specific stream of design.
Thank you so much, Prag. So, if you want to suggest some tips to the beginners, what do you suggest?
Yeah, I would say the same. I mean, my tip to designer would be stay focused on the user problem, the impact you can create on the ground, and be flexible to acquire new skill set to solve a problem. The solution space is constantly evolving. Like I started my career as an industrial designer. Then I realized that I'll maybe in order to solve a larger problem, I have to move to interaction design. And then even from interaction design perspective, things are changing very fast. Like when I started, it was like you do it on a desktop, then web, and then mobile, and then now we are talking about AI assisted thing where basic things AI can do, then voice based interaction. So the solution space will keep evolving, and I still know that people who used to do graphic design also moved to interaction design, and the people who decided to kind of stay with that now sometimes they struggle in terms of nature of problem they solve. So my sort of tip is stay focused on user customer empathy, but keep evolving your skill set with the intent of solving larger problem, and don't identify yourself very strongly with just one stream of design that hey, I am a mobile designer or I am a web designer or I'm a graphic designer or industrial designer. So I think one has to keep acquiring new skill to sort of stay relevant, acquire a skill which gives you a sort of capability to solve larger problems.
Thank you, Prag. Indeed, that was a great tip, though. So let's begin our episode today on designing to drive outcomes. So, what exactly is designing to drive outcomes, and how do you uncover what you don't know, which you already know?
Even if I just relate it back to my career, when I started as an industrial designer, I just used to spend a lot of time in styling because hey, it just looks cool, and I used to feel great that I made like 50 concepts, and then wow, this looks nice, which is great. I think which is needed. But as I progressed in my career, I realized that the real sort of impact of design you can create if you always start with a why and not something which gives always you a satisfaction because oh, I like to solve this kind of a problem and that's where I spend most of my time. But actually, starting with a why in the context of a business and user. And that's my learning that as I started to understand business context more, and in I have worked in various industries, and I realized that yeah, every organization has a different kind of product offering and different business model, and the different kind of user need and user segments. So unless you have a deeper understanding of the whole system, the overall product journey and user journey, you may end up solving something which may have a very limited impact on the overall outcome. Like for example, if I'm working on a home and building solution, for example, maybe installation is a huge problem because that might be a barrier for a solution adoption, or that might be a huge cost factor as part of the overall cost solution. So if you leverage design thinking and design solution to reduce installation cost, you might be able to add a lot of value to end user and your business as well. Similarly, if you're working on a healthcare, for example, and you're designing healthcare solution to make it affordable, accessible to people who do not have access, focusing on accessibility and sustainability can give you a bigger impact. And that's a realization which I think is very important. Then that's what I mean by outcome driven design. So whenever you enter any sort of a space, you should know what is the context, user, and the business model to make it economically sustainable, so that you can identify the right area for design intervention. Sometimes we as a designer may get kind of carried away to solve a specific problem, but that may or may not have a huge impact on the end outcome. So that's why I mean by outcome driven design is to figure out which specific areas will give you a maximum impact if you keep the overall end outcome in the mind.
Thank you so much, Parag, for explaining us in such great detail. So what is the role of decision and tactical thinking in design? Like, could you please explain us with few examples, and what are the various tools that you have used in making those decisions while you were managing teams at all these big organizations?
Yeah, sure. The role of decision making is, again, the decision making, you would always make your decision keeping the end goal in the mind. And like I said earlier, you would start with a why. And that would, will be the governing factor of what decision you take. And in this case, I'll take some example to kind of make this clear. But the decision making should be focused on why I need to do it, and then the technical part is, hey, how I do it and what is the best way to do it. So there is this why and what, and then there is how I actually do it, which is more of a technical part. To make a decision why, again, you need to go back to the overall context and the end outcome you want to drive. Like, for example, let's take some example in the tools which one can use. Suppose if you are in a healthcare and if you are thinking of a imaging service, and maybe it's a kind of a radiology imaging service where you want to imaging service which delivers high quality imaging, economically sustainable, and delivers high patient outcome or high patient satisfaction. If that is your overall primary outcome you want, then what would you do as a designer? So you would actually, if that is the primary outcome, you would break it into multiple secondary outcomes in order to get high quality imaging and economically sustainable solution which gives a high patient satisfaction. I might break it into clinical excellence, operational efficiency, and patient excellence. That's like my secondary outcomes. Unless I have a great clinical outcome, operational efficiency, and patient experience, I won't get my primary outcome. Now, if I pick one secondary outcome, which is patient experience, I can break patient experience further into tertiary outcome in terms of like scheduling, patient education, patient communication, patient comfort, and then I can design my experience related experiment to improve each of this, which is how do I improve patient scheduling, how do I improve patient comfort, how do I improve patient communication, how do I improve patient education. And then I have a very clear view of what kind of experiment I need to do, what I want to learn and measure, which eventually will affect my primary outcome, which we talked about initially. So this is, we call it like an outcome cascade, which is you have a primary outcome, secondary outcome, tertiary outcome, and the tertiary outcome actually gives you a very specific design intervention opportunity that, hey, let's do ideas of improving patient communication. And then you can think about, yeah, there's a mobile-based communication. I can give them a brochure or leaflet, or there could be a SMS-based service. There are n number of ways in which you can solve that problem to drive the outcome. So I think this understanding of this whole outcome cascade is one such tool. If we take any other context, like for example, I talked about a service as an example, the first one. The second one could be if you take example, like for example, home security product. So you are building a home security system. Now, again, if you look at the journey, you can use like end-to-end journey as a tool, which means you may start with awareness, purchase, install, in use, maintain, and upsell. So these are like all these stages in the entire journey of the product, and then you can figure out where you might have the maximum challenge, and then you sort of apply your design thinking and solution at various stages to drive a better outcome. Similarly, if you are building a mobile application, then you might have your sort of funnel of your entire across journey. Like in that space, you may have a problem of user acquisition. Then, oh, I have a user, but are they actually using it? So then there's a problem of user activation. Then if they are using it, are they really engaged? Or are they are using it repeatedly? Is there a high frequency of usage? And then are they spreading word, and are they actually, my solution is becoming viral? Because that's what you would want if you are in the space of mobile application, which you want to take it to billions. So like I talked about three different contexts. One is service design, one where we talked about the outcome cascade as one of the tool. If you are building a sort of any product, like maybe a hardware product or software or a combination of both, then you may look at the end-to-end journey, or you may look at funnel in terms of user acquisition till the time it kind of becomes viral. These are all different tools which you use to understand the entire journey, figure out where you want to intervene to create the right impact. And your approach would also vary in terms of where exactly you want to put in your effort and how you want to go about it. I'll just give you one example. When we were in G sort of healthcare, we were building this baby warmer. The objective was to make it accessible and affordable people who do not have access to healthcare. What we realized there is, even if you, so accessibility is not only about a cost, because we realized that they actually had in that space, they had products which were given to them free. It was a donation given to them by various organization, and these products were not in use because it was an imported product, somebody donated it, something went wrong, and then nobody knew in that village how to fix it. Hence there was no impact on the ground. So if you really focus that, hey, my goal or outcome I want to drive is reduce infant mortality rate, then cost is one factor but not the only factor. So if you just imagine that, yeah, if I reduce the cost, everything will be taken care of, is not right. Because then is there any way for them to fix something? Because once it is gone wrong, then it is out of service. And then how are you solving that problem? Because if you don't solve, at the end of the day, you won't be able to actually drive the desired outcome. So then you start thinking about this entire journey, and then let's leverage design thinking to solve even a maintenance problem, solve a problem of even educating the untrained professional who are actually going to use this device. So I think that's what I mean, and these are the journey or outcome cascade, or this funnel actually helps you to figure out where you need to focus and how you can drive the end outcome.
Thank you so much, Parag, for such great, excellent examples. So, as a team collaboration, so how to get these ideas of service design injected into the team as well, and how as a collaborative team we can approach on that.
Yeah, no, in fact, no, that's a great point, because this end-to-end journey, if we talk about, it is a collaborative effort, because one stream or one function cannot kind of run across the cycle. So by nature itself, it's a collaborative effort, because it requires multiple disciplines to come together. And the way to do it is, yeah, you always and the approach or the process which we use always start with a co-creation workshop to bring all the different stakeholder where everyone kind of we go through the empathy session, where we empathize every stakeholder on different dimensions of the problem. And even the people with different skills would share their experience in terms of how do they see a problem and what role they can play, so that every partner or sort of collaborator in the team becomes sensitive or aware of the different things which we need to bring together. Like for example, if we are building a solution from scratch, you may bring like service guy, a salesperson, or actual end user, or even the marketing professionals, all of them in the one room, and they talk about their, or even people who deliver training, or even who go on the door to door to talk about your product. If you bring all of them, then it kind of builds a shared understanding of the overall outcome, and then it kind of helps you build connection of how you can connect all the dots from the beginning till the end of the journey.
Thank you so much, Parag. Now coming to the real deal that all the listeners are waiting for. So what do you see in hiring portfolios of UX designers as a hiring manager?
Yeah, so for me, I think like I also talked about earlier as well, one is the person's ability to observe, listen, and empathize with the end user. So whether the person has a very human-centric approach. So I think that is one, and it becomes evident if you talk to people, and then the way they approach, what kind of problem they solve. it kind of gives you a sense that I'm just starting with something I want to solve, or I really understand the user problem clearly, and hence I'm coming up with this solution. I think that is number one. The number two is sort of sensitivity towards craft. So I think this again is extremely important, because kind of experience you create, the quality of craft which you bring defines the quality of this solution. And third thing, which again matters to me a lot, is you have sensitivity to user, you can empathize, you can draw insight, you have skills, but then this ability to come up with a lot of ideas. So this again, I think, some people have this ability to just come up with lots and lots of idea, because the only way to get good ideas is get a lot of ideas, and then sort of keep refining it. So the craft is important, but then ability to approach things from multiple dimension, and ability to hear different perspective and then come up with more ideas is again something which I look at, and we all kind of look at. And then we also look at the depth and breadth for any candidate. So if someone we are hiring, what kind of problem they have solved, and the nature of problem, so the variety, and what is the depth in which the person has gone to really understand the real problem. So we actually look at, just get a sense of different things which you have solved, and then maybe let's kind of go deep to really understand how deeply you really understand the core problem. So I think these are the factors which I look at while hiring anyone.
Thank you so much, Parag. So can you please share with us, how does your typical day look like at Microsoft, and any interesting stories that you want to bring on?
Yeah, now with lockdown, I think it has changed a lot. But like typical day, I can kind of put it in like three, four bucket. One chunk of my time goes in sort of planning and prioritization in terms of what we need to do, which specific thread or design aspect we should pick up. Then I work with my team to say, hey, let's kind of focus on this, because this is where either sense of urgency or the importance we want to kind of go after this. So there is one part is around planning prioritization, which takes some time in my day. Other is collaborating with various teams and across functions, so engineering, PM, program managers, or even across different product team, because what we are building actually requires collaboration across teams. So collaborating within the team and across teams, so a bit of collaboration across team. Third could be design reviews, which is like deep design discussions of the solutions which we are creating, quality of solutions and how we should approach it. We spend time on that. And the last bucket is also about team culture, in terms of how so sometimes time goes in that. And I do spend, if not every day but alternate day, to keep myself updated in terms of what is happening in this space, trends, and also what we are learning from our customers and users. So I mean, we are in this space of creating solution for mobile, and that space is so fast moving. We always kind of need to be on our toes to keep ourselves updated in terms of what are the new things which are happening, so that we are aware of how user habits are changing, and what new is happening from a trend perspective, as well as from what our customers are expecting from us. I think these are like 4 or 5 buckets which kind of takes time throughout the day.
Thank you so much, Parag, for all these wonderful insights. We'll conclude the show by you recommending your 3 favorite books, also people who inspire you the most in the space.
Yeah, no, thanks for asking that question. Yeah, like I started by saying that, yeah, I had great influence. My uncle, who is a world-renowned designer, so Professor Kirti Trivedi. So I think the person who has inspired me most, I would say Professor Kirti Trivedi, because of his depth, breadth. I mean, he is a thought leader, educationist, very successful designer in terms of even commercially successful designer, has worked across streams of design, whether it is industrial design, graphic design, exhibition design, furniture design, or even deep research on Indian thoughts and tradition. I think he has touched all those, and has been into field of teaching, and has been sort of across the globe. He's recognized the way he sort of helped people to think about design. Yeah, if people are interested, they can read his papers on academia.edu. So I think, yeah, I had a great influence of Professor Trivedi on me in my thinking. From a book perspective, I can, yeah, I like or I can refer few books. So one, again, by Professor Trivedi, which is about books, letter form, and design in Asia, which talks about the Asian philosophy of design, which is very deep, deep meaning and designed with a purpose, where everything which we do in Asian design has a very deep meaning. So I think that gives you one very different dimension. Then for a very pragmatic application, one can refer universal principles of design, because this is something which, hey, if I'm doing mobile app design, I can just apply a few principles, very pragmatic. I like that book. Probably that's the one, only one book which one can consider as a textbook for design. There are no textbook in design, but that is kind of a textbook in design. Then other could be around just thinking and how to think differently, which is how to be more interesting by Edward Debeno. Is again an interesting thing, an interesting book, because it gives you various different point of views to think about any problem. And the fourth one could be around like business model innovation and value proposition design, because that brings in the business dimension of design. So yeah, I think the book around books, letter form, and design in Asia is all about Asian philosophy around design. Then universal principle of design is like very pragmatic. You can apply it. How to think is like how to be more interesting by Edward Debeno. And then yeah, the last one is business model innovation, because it gives you the dimension of business. Yeah, no, I think there are many, and even in my earlier organization, our CEO Terry Bressenham, she was extremely inspiring in terms of her passion to really make healthcare accessible across all the people who do not have access to healthcare. So I think her passion and the way she had created the health sustainable healthcare solution was pretty inspiring. And even in Microsoft, when I from a leadership perspective, when I look at our MD in terms of the sort of growth mindset and humbleness with which he approached everything, every time he would approach as a learner who is trying to sort of learn things, is always creates possibility for team to do something new. And coming that from the top, that okay, let's start as a beginner, is a great sort of message which we always get from him. I think yeah, in addition to Professor Kirti Trivedi in my professional circle, they are the folks who have inspired me with their approach.
Thank you so much, Parag. It was wonderful talking to you, and thanks a lot for sharing all these beautiful insights with us. We are looking forward to host you again in our upcoming episodes. Thanks for your wonderful time.
Great, and thank you very much for setting this up, and I hope our listeners would get some value out of it.